Losing your period, it's like losing a part of what makes you a woman and what makes you a wahine.
I lost my period for almost 2 years. Didn't think too much of it, to be completely honest.
It may seem really small to other people, but it's massive.
Women who get too low in their body fat and they start losing their cycle. Some people go, oh, that's great, I don't have to worry about it every month, but it's actually not good for you hormonally.
So Red S was originally coined the female athlete triad. It was the 3 pillars of a triangle: amenorrhea, which is the losing of your period. It was osteoporosis. It's a condition where your bones become brittle and weak. And it's disordered eating. So these are the 3 pillars of the female athlete triad. And then I think later down the line, they realized that in some capacity it was affecting men also. So that's why they changed the name to Red S, which is relative energy deficiency in sport. Essentially what it is this overtraining and underfueling your body for performance.
Crowley is a Momoiseā kickboxing champion, decorated in both sports.
Get over the stigma. We're in a sport where we are covered in sweat, blood, mucus, all sorts of horrible shit. We roll around all over each other, we cut each other, we punch each other in the face. So I really don't think talking about a little bit of menstrual blood or a little bit of bloating, is going to hurt us.
Having periods, it's important. It's an important part of life. We need to stop making it as taboo because it's not helping our generations that's growing up and not helping our men as well to have that understanding.
My name is Nyrene Crowley. I am a Samoan mixed martial artist competing at a professional level. We grew up a very sporty family. I have my older sister who's 1 year older than me, and then my younger brother who is 3 years younger than me. My granddad was an All Black. My sister obviously is doing amazing things overseas. She's signed to the WWE, doing professional wrestling over there in the States. Our upbringing, pretty standard, pretty standard for Kiwi kids growing up in New Zealand.
In terms of changing over time, we've got a number of women fighters here. If you look at city kickboxing now compared to even 5 years ago, we could have a women's only professional class where you've got athletes at say 3 or 4 different weight categories all sparring, and there would be anywhere between 10, sometimes 20 women quite capable of competing national, international and professional level. That's a big change. But understanding the differences, right? That's probably the main thing, is you're not dealing with small men, therefore understand the differences between men and women. You're going to be coaching women and you need to understand that.
This is something that's always happened throughout my journey. In my fight camps, I would lose my period, and then after the fight, it would always kind of come back to me. So I was training overseas for a year or so before I realized that it wasn't coming back to me. And this was something that I started trying to ask other people about. I was trying to do my own research about what it was, and that's essentially how I found out what it was.
What are you going to do while you're away? A good example around menstruation is women who get too low in their body fat and they start losing their cycle. Being aware of that and being aware of the effects over time of losing your cycle. Some people go, oh, that's great, I don't have to worry about it every month, but it's actually not good for you hormonally.
My mum never talked to us about periods. I found out about periods by myself. So when it happens to me, oh my goodness, I put my legs up to try and stop the flow of the blood. And I didn't know any better at the time. I got 4 boys. So I do explain to them how important it is for women to have their periods. If they don't have their periods, they were not able to be able to have children.
Over 30 years, we've seen a real shift in behaviours around and comforts around talking about these topics. As Pacific, I think there still needs to be an opportunity that we create, not only as health professionals, but as mothers, as aunties, that we, create a safe space that we're not awkward about the conversation, because often young people reflect our awkwardness.
I don't know, I think I'm just a chaser of crazy dreams, I think. And then my personality just comes along with whatever that is. The most important thing when it comes to training around your menstrual cycle is understanding your menstrual cycle. Phase-based training based on a 28-day cycle doesn't necessarily work because not everyone has a 28-day cycle. Not everyone is the same.
Understanding the physiology of women, okay? Understanding, aerobic capacities, lactic capacities, bone density, strengths and weaknesses, where they lie is super important, because otherwise how are you going to understand the science to developing their strengths and weaknesses conditioning-wise? Then obviously you have to include menstruation in that, whereabouts are they in their cycle, what's the appropriate hormonal levels, and that circles back also to nutrition, what's appropriate at different times of the month, and that's just a foundation to start with.
Red S I learnt about during weight cuts because it's basically a name they've given the repercussions of undereating and overtraining. I'd get to points where I'd have such little energy that I would just be fighting to lift the weights I was lifting over and over again. Not only that, I was struggling to cut the weight because every time I would weight cut, I'd have to do it to the extremes of eating so little, and then I'd compete, and then after a few weeks of eating so little, I'd just binge, and then that would make the next weight cut harder. So I was really grateful to have people around me who could just tell me that Red S was a thing that existed. I felt like I needed to sleep more, I needed to rest more, I wasn't able to get up for my back-to-back sessions as much, and I thought that was relatively normal.
Men can walk around at 8% body fat, women shouldn't. And we know that below, I think 14%, you're starting to get into an area which isn't necessarily healthy. Let's just have an understanding of that, particularly in a sport where we weight cut, because weight cutting is damaging. And that's one area that's really critical to understand, that women aren't small men. They've got more fat mass, they have less muscle mass, and therefore what you lose out of your body in terms of water is different.
Okay, so this is So Wellness, so I had to kind of start looking at what the larger implications of that were, and it was about really understanding that I'm not just losing my period, I'm losing my ability to possibly or potentially have kids in the future if I want them. It's about understanding that as a woman, the ability to have a functioning reproductive system and hormones is such a massive part of what I feel as a woman. It's a lot to grapple with because it's my identity, it's who I am. It's just about understanding how I can possibly look to heal myself going forward, and how I manage it while I'm still competing at like an elite level.
If you come in and you're just a general client, probably not going to be asking you how your period's going this week, all right? But if you're coming in and you're an athlete competing at a high level, we have a vested interest in knowing what's going on so we can alter our approach.
Can't find an opening, be creative, whatever, just warming up.
The coaches here, we're all over 40 at this point. We've got kids, half of us daughters, and we don't live in a cave. So we will sort of talk about those things.
We started a women's forum here in Papatoetoe Weightlifting Club, and we just went upstairs once a month, sat down, had some general chat around menstrual cycles, and I shared my journey. And even from that, it just sparked, I think, some important thinking and some questions from some of the women and girls in here.
Don't worry, my hair looks like I just gave birth.
I'm kind of the person in the gym now where I'm making an effort to educate the women in the sport, even the ones underneath us coming up, talking about this, making sure that they know that I'm a safe person for them to talk to. So speak and be okay speaking with other women in your sport about what this is or what you're going through.
If we're trying to simplify well-being, which is really hard to do, we can tell people how to feel, how to think, and how to view themselves all the time, but unless they actually feel it, it doesn't make a difference. So we can support our young people in particular by allowing spaces where they get to be their whole selves and they're not put down for doing it.
Success for me is making sure that I'm educating other women, making sure that I am owning the things that I've learned across my time in the sport and making sure that I'm feeding that back into the sport before I leave it. Now it's essentially what my legacy looks like.